if you are confused about how to mix patterns in your space, so Shai is back with some great tips because we know you like to have fun.
I do. I like to have fun. And mixing pattern can go very wrong very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, it starts to look messy. So we have some tips for everyone. And, you know, we're going to try to get through as many. If we don't get through them all, cityline.tv, we're going to post them for you.
Perfect.
So let's start off with have some inspiration. That's always, I mean, that's kind of like 101 in design. But with pattern, it's really important because that really zones in and kind of concentrates on what it is that you want to do. Because when you're mixing patterns, there's florals, there's stripes, there's plaids. You really need to be inspired by one thing and know kind of what your direction is going into. So here we have a little bit of an eclectic feel, but it's almost like that grandma chic. I know that that's Tracy's term. Grandma chic.
Use it. Use it.
I've totally, yes, trademarked that. So grandma chic. Inspiration is important. And we want to start off with choosing an odd number of patterns. Now, we talk about that in interior design all the time, right? 1s, 3s, 5s.
Yes.
And the reason that we do that is because it frames things nicely. So if you imagine 3 pieces of artwork on a wall, you have one centered and the other framed. Visually, it feels balanced that way.
Yes, it does.
Right.
And you've done that as well with the cushions, right?
Exactly, exactly. Now, the important thing also about patterns, we really want to vary the scale. So if you have everything very small or everything very big, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So you want to have some large, some small, some medium, and you want to make sure that that varies throughout the space. So don't put all the large on the wall, or, you know, what's great about these pieces on the wall, which, by the way, Tracy, if you look very closely, this was a great piece of DIY art that this supplier did, and they just actually framed pillowcases.
Oh, you can see the zippers at the bottom.
Yes, well, that shouldn't be seen, but you can flip
you
them
can't
up
even see any zippers.
No zippers. So yeah, but that's a really easy way to kind of do that. And if you don't want to see the zipper, actually, what a great thing to do would just cut the front part of the fabric out and frame that.
I kind of like it. Let it all hang out. Yeah. It looks very artisanal.
Okay, the next thing, go for contrast.
Yes.
So if you're just kind of monochromatic, tone on tone on tone, with pattern, it tends to sit a little flat.
Yeah.
So you want to have some contrast, and we have some great pops of colors. So, you know, florals are big now. Jackie mentioned florals. I'm always reminded of that Devil Wears Prada where Meryl Streep says, florals for spring? How shocking and groundbreaking. But it's the way in which the florals are done, right?
Right.
So it's a nice pop, these really beautiful, vibrant colors, those neons.
Yes.
A lot of fun.
Very nice.
Okay, big patterns, big on big, small on small. And what do I mean by that? Don't have overwhelming pattern on one small pillow. Have a smaller pattern on the pillows and have the larger patterns on the larger pieces of furniture.
Got it.
Okay? Now, an easy way to, people sometimes say to me, or clients will ask me, well, can I have a sofa done in an overall pattern? You can, but that's a big commitment. So, you know, I always say start off with like an armchair or an ottoman or something a little bit smaller that's more kind of doable and it doesn't really jump out as much. If you love it, you can always decide to do a bigger piece later on.
You have to know if you're that person or not.
It's a commitment. So
it
it's one of
is.
those
I'm not that person.
If you're a commitment phobe, don't do it.
No, I'm not going to do it.
Don't do it.
I'm going with the neutral.
Don't forget solids. So pattern with pattern with pattern can get very messy very quickly. It's nice to break it up with solids. So we have the solid on your end. And although this has a stripe, it's a very muted stripe, so it almost has a solid feel to it.
Yeah.
But we brought it in the ottoman as well. And then, of course, a larger piece in the sofa.
It doesn't look overwhelming with all the pattern.
Doesn't look overwhelming. So let's now talk about the 60-30-10 rule. Okay. What is that? So your favorite pattern, or the pattern that you really want to have the most of, you're going to have 60% of the pieces that you're doing in pattern in that pattern. Your next pattern down will be 30, and the next pattern, almost like an accent pattern, will be 10. And that's a really easy way to kind of mathematically figure that out if you're unsure about, do I have too much of this? Do I have too little of this? That's an easy one to remember.
And how do you quantify how much pattern you have? Like, how do you know if it's 60%?
Well, this is where you have to hire a designer.
Okay.
I gotta pay my mortgage, people.
Yes. I would say, Shai, can you just calculate if I'm in the right place, in the right zone when it comes to my pattern? You will use your eye and it will be the right thing, right?
Yes, and visually, I mean, you can kind of look and you can kind of tell, right?
Thanks so much to Shai. And we also want to thank HomeSense for the pieces in this set.